I want to decompress some things. I want to talk about reductionism, about minimalism, not so much, but I use a handful of tools, and I'm going to focus on planes right now because you will often see me reach for one of 3 planes, but it could be one of 5 planes, and I want to talk about it because it gets very confusing. I use a basic iconoclastic Stanley number 4 plane for 99% of all my work. I use a number 5 for the longer plane that affords me the straightening capacity of wood. And then I use this one in, which is a number 4 also, but it's slightly different because I did a remake on it and I made this into what we call a scrub plane. So I want to talk to you why I've got these planes, but then I'm going to bring in these fellows here. Here's a number 4.5, and here's a number 5.5. The only advantage to these is you have a little bit of added weight, which can be negative because I don't like heavy planes. They're completely unnecessary. They offer no real value, except for grunt work. You might be able to push it and it will carry itself forward with the added weight. But you have to remember that you're pulling that weight back and you're pushing that weight forward. So if you go for a heavy weight, what they call premium plane, you're going to have to work for it, and I don't need the extra work because these planes, these 5 planes, these 3 will do everything that any heavyweight plane will do. So I'm going to tell you, and the reason I'm telling you this is because I've been using this specific plane for 61 years, and I've been using this plane for about the same time. So I've been using them in the everyday of life. I've replaced the blades probably 5 times in each one of them, just because I've worn them down beyond the ability to keep an edge anymore. So why do I have these? These are just 3/8 of an inch wider, so they're 10 millimeters wider, and I might use those on wider wood. But let me put those out of the way just for a minute. And let's talk about the number 4 plane. The number 4 plane is called a smoothing plane. I've sharpened this, given it a fresh start. I've got a piece of cherry here. I'm looking for grain direction. And what does this give me? It gives me the ability to smooth my wood with super thin shavings or heavy shavings if I want to. What does this plane give me? This gives me an advantage. I've got a cambered iron this way, so it takes the majority of the wood right out at the very middle and nothing on the outsides. Let me show you what that does. And I'm going to bring in a wide piece of mahogany here that I have. This is a panel that I've been working on. I've already leveled this, but let's say this came in as rough wood, and I wanted to make it smooth, but it's got twists in it, it's got cups in it, it's got different negative features to it. I would take this plane and I would run this plane along like this. Can you watch in the middle here? You'll see the shaving coming right out of the middle, and it's a narrow band. It's only about 3/4 to an inch wide. So when I go down here like this, I'm creating a series of undulations, and you can understand that if this spot was high here, this was hollow, I would go with this plane and I might go like this across the grain and take this high spot down and then go with the grain like this to take that high spot down. Once I've got this virtually out of twist, out of cup, out of bow, I would go with another plane. I might go with the smoothing plane. More likely I would go with this longer plane and start planing the surface again. But what I want to show you first is what happened if I take a piece of graphite, go across here. You might be able to see those high spots that were left from the curved blade. Can you see that? Now then, if you wanted to reproduce an antique surface on a piece of furniture, this scrub plane needs no more. It'll create the undulation, but you could still set plates and glasses onto it and it would feel just fine. So that's what the scrub plane creates, but it's temporary. So what we do now I'm sorry I used the graphite because that's going to dull this iron like nothing else, but let's go with this now. Let's just set the plane. I want a decent cut. There it is. So now this, I'm going to stop there and show you what happened in that midsection. In the midsection, I no longer have those black high spots, but I haven't reached these outside areas yet. That's what the scrub plane gives me, and it gives me super efficiency. And that's what I'm looking for because I'm a hand tool woodworker and I don't use machines. I only have a bandsaw and I rarely use that, but I use it for reducing the size of my material. So I'm relying on my ability to plane my surfaces level and smooth with these 2 or 3 planes. So now I've got my surface down. I would switch planes now and I would go with my smoothing plane. This is the thin, they say this is the narrow iron, 2-inch wide, and then I would set this like this. So I'm taking off these thin shavings. They're narrow at the moment, but now they're getting wider and wider and wider and wider. And now I have a beautiful flat surface. And if I take my graphite now, I've still got slight undulation, but I don't have the peaks. When I finish super planing this, these will all disappear and I'll have a super smooth surface. So that's what I want my planes for. The wider planes, let me give you a quick demo with that, because these are really very efficient planes. Oh, one thing I forgot, what about this? There is my this is my rag in a can oiler. It puts just the right amount of oil on there. So I'm using a wider, longer plane, which creates a wider width of cut. And this, you can see these shavings are nice and wide. I can set it deeper now. And this is amazing woodworking for you to get hold of. Now then, you might be asking the question, how do I make a sub-scrub plane? Well, I've got links on a lot of this, so you can go to the links at the bottom and you'll be able to find this. So there is my surface. It's pristine, it feels like silk, and it's a wonderful way of planing your wood. Now then, I have other planes that I want to talk about, because smoothing planes, leveling planes like these are only used for that purpose. They might be used for trimming. If you had a dovetail box like this, you might take your smoothing plane, set it quite shallow, and take a couple of shavings like this. And that will level the dovetails and give you the pristine surface you want. So there I have it. I'm ready to use the sandpaper if I want to. I could go in now and sand this. I'm ready to go. So it's a trimming plane, it's a smoothing plane, it does all kinds of leveling things, but then you have other planes. What about, if you look on the back wall here, let me pull one out here. I've got a plough plane here, but because I live in the country I live in, I've got 2 or 3 of them. The reason I've got 2 or 3 is, one I might have loaded with a metric sized cutter, and the other I might have loaded with an imperial sized cutter. Imperial measurement became standard in Britain around 1826, when they had so many different methods of measuring sizes, they decided to standardize it. So once they standardized it, it became a standard size and everybody was making things to the same size. Before that, anything around 10 millimeters could be 3/8, just under or just over, but they standardized it. So now I'm living in a culture where the majority of people are using metric sizing, because where am I? I'm in Britain. Britain is a part of Europe, in the sense that geographically it's a part of Europe. But then I work with an audience in America, but I also have people in Liberia, And I also have people in Myanmar. Those are the only 3 countries that use imperial sizing for measuring. And I'm never going to argue with any of that. So this plane, these planes, I might have 2, 3 or 4 of these. I load them with different sizes, and I might even make a blade that fits a certain size that I want. So I'm just fortunate. I could just change the blade out, but it's easier for me to have this 2 or 3 planes that I can rely on. So what else? We've got other planes. We've got smoothing planes. We've got rebate planes. They come in different sizes. I've got a rebate plane, whoops, like this one. And I have another rebate plane like this one. So we've got, this is called a Philister plane. It's a rebate plane. You can put a fence on underneath. That will cut a step out of the side of a piece of wood. And then I have this one. This is a number 10. And this one is worked on the face of my tenons sometimes. But generally, this is a rebate plane that cleans up the rebate, usually after a machine has cut it, because the machine will leave slight undulations in the surface and we want to remove them. These are my choices for my planes, and you'll see that I am a very practical person. If you're living in a culture like I do, where I can buy one of these for usually under £20, and I can fix it up. And if you want to fix your plane up, if it's come rusted, if it's got a poor cutter in there, my videos will show you how to reconcile all those discrepancies, and you'll end up with a plane. This is the number 1 plane that I would, it's not a number 1, it's a number 4. But it's my number 1 plane, my go-to plane in the everyday of life. I use it every day, and I've been using this one for 61 years, as I said. So it's a wonderful plane. It does everything any hand tool woodworker will ever want to do. And the great thing about buying a second-hand one, if it's got flaws, you're going to have to work out how to get rid of the flaws. And that's the best introduction to maintaining a number 4 or a number 5 plane I could ever give you. It's much better to start with the imperfections of a plane and work up to perfecting it, because you're going to end up with a plane you love, and it's going to last you the same lifetime it's lasted me, but longer.